Breaking news! Something's happening in Miami, and it's not just another offseason headline. It could change everything for the Dolphins. Behind the scenes, conversations are heating up, tensions are rising, and if what I'm hearing is true, this franchise is headed for a major shakeup. We're talking the kind of decision that doesn't just shape a season, but the future of the team for years to come. I've got the full story on locker room concerns, roster changes, and a front office that may finally be running out of time. And trust me, if you're a true Dolphins fan, you'll want to hear every word of it. But before we get started, if you've been following this team through its ups and downs, hit the like button and comment "Go Dolphins." My heart is yours. Now, let me show you exactly why this season could be the beginning of the end, or the beginning of something legendary. Now let's get straight into it. One of the hottest topics coming out of OTAs is the future of Tua Tagovailoa. There's cautious optimism, but also very real concerns. Tua stayed healthy through 17 games last season, leading the league with 4,600 passing yards, but only managed 29 touchdowns, still short of that elusive 30 TD milestone. Heading into this year, the outlook is mixed. While it's plausible to see him cross 4,000 yards again, the Dolphins' offensive philosophy might be shifting. With the addition of James Daniels, who signed a 3-year, $24 million deal, their biggest move in free agency, plus second-round pick Jonah Savinia, the message is clear. This team wants to run the football. They're not just tweaking the offensive line. They're overhauling it. Daniels and Savinia join Aaron Brewer, Patrick Paul, and Austin Jackson to form what could be the most competent Dolphins O-line in years, if they stay healthy. Add in newly signed Alexander Mattison and rookie workhorse Audric Estime, and it's not hard to imagine Miami leaning heavily on the ground game. This shift could reduce Tua's passing volume, but it might also make the offense more effective overall. Still, that means fantasy fans hoping for Tua to go nuclear again might be disappointed. But the conversation can't stop at Tua. The big unknown remains the defense. Miami has question marks all over the secondary, and if this team misses the playoffs again, heads might roll. Mike McDaniel could be in trouble, and if that happens, Anthony Weaver is already being eyed as a potential in-house replacement. Some fans are even throwing around names like Joe Brady, Todd Monken, and, believe it or not, Mike McCarthy. That's right, McCarthy is still lurking in the background, and while I wouldn't want him anywhere near South Florida, his name is circulating. Let's not sugarcoat it. Chris Grier has left this roster vulnerable in critical areas. The secondary is thin, and if the pass rush doesn't mask those weaknesses, we're looking at another early exit. We're hearing names like Mike Hilton, Shackwell Griffin, and even Greg Newsome as potential trade or signing targets. But the fact that we're still scrambling for corners in June tells you everything you need to know about Grier's failure to build a complete roster. And speaking of thin spots, how about the tight end room? Jonnu Smith had a career year with 88 catches and 884 yards, but he's on a 1-year deal. After him, there's basically no long-term plan. Julian Hill is more blocker than playmaker, and beyond that, it's a whole lot of question marks. If Jonnu goes down, this offense loses a major dimension. That's the kind of short-sighted roster management that puts coaches on the hot seat and fans in the comments section screaming for change. Now let's talk about a bombshell. Jalen Ramsey could be traded within days. The post-June 1st designation frees up money and opens the door for a return to the Rams. If that happens, Miami will have to pivot fast to find a replacement, maybe even get something like Kobe Durant in return. Either way, Ramsey being shopped this late in the offseason is a bad look for this front office. Another reason Chris Grier shouldn't be anywhere near the keys. Finally, let's not overlook the elephant in the room, Tyreek Hill. His $52 million cap hit in 2025 makes it almost a guarantee he'll be released next year. But this season, as long as the Dolphins are winning, say, 5-3 or 6-2 by the trade deadline, there's no way he gets dealt. The only scenario where Hill and Waddle don't finish the season together is a total collapse, and nobody wants that. But we also need to start accepting the reality that this is the final season we'll see this electric duo in aqua and orange together. So the question I leave you with is this. If this team doesn't make the playoffs, and things don't go as planned, who do you want to replace Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier? Because if we're being honest, time is running out. This roster, as it stands, is built to win now. Tyreek Hill is entering what's likely his last year in Miami, and the financial writing is already on the wall. His release in 2025 will save the Dolphins over $36 million in cap space. That means whatever magic Mike McDaniel is planning with Hill and Waddle, it has to hit this season. There is no next year for this duo. And that's the kind of pressure that either makes a team legendary or cracks it apart. And don't forget, it's not just Hill. Tua's long-term future is still hanging in the balance. If he misses significant time again, say more than 4 games, then this franchise will have no choice but to start planning for life after him. And it's not just speculation. The idea of drafting a quarterback in 2026 is already being floated behind the scenes. Quinn Ewers, the promising rookie, might not be ready now, but his name is already being whispered for the future. As of today, his chance of stealing the job this year is 0. But next year, maybe 5%, maybe more if Tua stumbles again. That's how quickly things can change in this league. Now let's go back to the trenches, because that's where Miami has arguably made the most tangible improvements. Upgrading from Robert Jones and Liam Eichenberg to James Daniels and Jonah Savinia isn't just a boost, it's a total transformation. Think going from a Mazda to a Rolls-Royce. That's how big this shift is. And if these new linemen hold up, Miami's third and short situations are going to look completely different. Last year, those were often drive killers. This year, they're aiming to turn those moments into drive enders for the defense. Alexander Mattison and Audric Estime may bring size and power to the backfield, both north of 220 pounds. You've got legitimate downhill runners now, and that's something this team sorely lacked. With the upgraded interior line and the right play calls, short yardage situations could become a true strength. But here's the thing, if third and one still becomes a guessing game, or worse, a liability, then we've got serious problems. Because you can't talk Super Bowl if you can't convert the easy stuff. And don't even get me started on the offensive line depth. Behind the starting 5, it's a barren wasteland. Liam Eichenberg is still the first guy off the bench, and that should terrify every Dolphins fan. Larry Borom might offer insurance at tackle, but he's not built to play inside. And none of the undrafted free agents like Addison West or Andrew Meyer have shown anything close to starter-level capability. This is where Greer's negligence shows up the most. He's left this team one injury away from disaster in the trenches. How does that happen on a team supposedly built to contend? And yet, amidst all the chaos, one player continues to shine, Jonnu Smith. The tight end's breakout season, 88 catches, 884 yards, 8 touchdowns, was the spark this offense needed. He was unstoppable in the red zone and clutch in critical moments, like that game-winning catch in OT against the Jets. But here's the catch. Jonnu is only on a 1-year deal, and after him, there's a steep drop-off. No future plan, no young stud waiting in the wings. It's all riding on Jonnu's shoulders, and if he goes down, this offense loses one of its most reliable weapons. Again, how is that acceptable for a team trying to make a Super Bowl run? It feels like we're walking a tightrope, tons of talent, but very little margin for error. And fans can sense it. That's why the noise around a potential Jalen Ramsey trade is getting louder. With the post-June 1st designation in play, and LA potentially circling back, the clock is ticking. Trading Ramsey now might free up cap space, but it would also send a loud message. This front office isn't all in for 2025. That's not something you do if you're chasing a ring. Unless, of course, Greer is more concerned about saving his job than winning a championship. Let's face it, the real question for Dolphins Nation right now isn't just can we make the playoffs? It's is this the year everything collapses? We've seen the flashes. This team has the weapons, the speed, the star power. But if the defense doesn't hold up, or Tua goes down, or the O-line crumbles again, then 2025 could be the year we blow it all up. And if that happens, you better believe changes are coming. Head coach, general manager, even the core of this roster. And that question, who stays if things fall apart, isn't hypothetical anymore. It's real. Because as much as we all want this team to succeed, the clock is ticking louder than ever. The 2024 season isn't just another campaign, it's the defining season of this era. It's McDaniel's 3rd year. It's Tua's make-or-break moment. It's the final run with Tyreek Hill and maybe even Jalen